Sorry.
Starting it.
My bad.
Like to call this Dresden School Board meeting to order. It is January 28th at 6:04 p.m. And our first item is agenda review. I don't have any reason to change the agenda, but is there any reason to change the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we will move on then to public comment. So we have, this is where we ask members of the public who have any comments that are not on the agenda, which has now just been set, to come up, and we have 3 minutes per person. There is a policy DEDH, and I see someone already standing up. And so we will kindly ask them to come up closer to the owls so the viewing public on YouTube can hear, and then also state your name and your place of residence, we ask, please.
You want me closer? Is this all right?
That is perfect.
All right. My name is Jeffrey Vitt. I live in Norwich, Vermont. I'm a lawyer. And I'm here tonight on behalf of Rob Grable. I will comply with the board's 3-minute policy. I've gone through this and I can do it in 3 minutes or slightly under. I'm aware that this is budget season and you have a lot to accomplish. I spent 14 years on this board and I appreciate the amount of work that lies ahead of you. This fall, I spoke to Rob about discussions with the athletic director regarding his future as the coach of the boys soccer team, a position he has held for 19 years. The athletic director wanted Rob to announce his immediate retirement. No one in town would have believed that in the middle of the year, Rob Grable would retire. Rob had suggested an announcement by him that the coming year would be his last. I thought then that there had to be a way that the parties could come up with a solution. On December 30th, the athletic director sent Rob an email informing him that if he did not agree to announce his retirement by the next day, she would announce on December 31st that he was no longer the soccer coach. I was able to reach the superintendent on December 31. He agreed to withdraw the deadline. I suggested that we talk again soon, and I recommended that the parties use a mediator. The superintendent made no commitment, but he said that he would get back to me. About a week later, he sent me an email saying, in effect, that there would be a public announcement that Rob was no longer the soccer coach. My offer of a meeting was rejected. After 19 years of exceptional service, Rob should have been extended the courtesy of a meeting. The second issue involves the athletic director's Q&A that's been published in the press. In it, she contends that the soccer program is no longer being run with a primary focus being the growth and success of student athletes on and off the field. There are 4 teams in the boys soccer program with 96 boys participating. These teams have 7 coaches who have over 30 years experience coaching at Hanover and over 60 years experience coaching at all levels. To a person, they say the athletic director is wrong. I do not say this lightly. There is no basis, none, for the AD's criticism of the boys soccer program. Thank you.
All right. Another member, would you like to come?
Yeah, so I'm speaking on the same topic. Hello. My name is Tom Cornish. I will speak for myself here. I will also read comments from 2 coaches who could not be here tonight, Sam Farnham, who is in New York, and Ben Snyder, who is in Rwanda, where he is chair of the board of an orphanage. So he's quite far away, couldn't make it. I grew up in the area. I went through the Hanover High School system, the whole entire Hanover system. Hanover High School, graduated in 2001. And I recently moved back to Hanover in September. I was asked to speak tonight as a member of the most recent coaching staff for the Hanover Boys program, coaching the freshman team. When I moved back, I felt honored when I was asked to join the coaching staff. It was a wonderful thing to return home, to be welcomed back in such a way. I truly love this town. I grew up in, again, went through the whole Hanover system, grew up in Lyme. Coming back here, and I have a number of friends and family, most of my family's still around here, friends who have returned from other places, but I just have I really do love this school system, and I love Hanover, so it was a big honor to be asked to come coach with Rob, who I've known for over 30 years. The Q&A of the athletic director contends that Rob no longer upholds the student athlete's experience and growth as the most important part of the program. As a coach and someone who has known Rob for over 30 years, I can say unequivocally that this is inaccurate. Rob always puts the player's best interest first. He would do anything to support those student athletes in the best way possible. I remember countless times Rob coaching me when I was growing up, where he would, do nothing but be an exemplary role model for all of us in the most positive way. I could go on and on, obviously, and there was a lot more to it. But I know there's a 3-minute time limit here, so I'll move on to Sam Farnham's comments. He says, Rob is consistently and reliably positive, insistent that we all be the same, even, and especially in the face of defeat. He places respect at the top of the priority list, celebrating awards for academics and sportsmanship more than state championships. Finally, he facilitated community service opportunities to raise money to fight hunger, collect food for local pantries, and help neighbors with moving and lawn work. He scheduled training around a cappella and jazz band and practices. He supported his players after the season at their hockey games, concerts, track meets, and showcases. Ben Snyder, who was also an athletic director for a few years, I believe, and also a longtime coach. Ben Snyder said, what I observed with Rob and his interactions with his players was always with the best interests of the student athletes in mind. His emphasis on values, excuse me, and taking care of others was demonstrated through the annual crop walk and support for local pantries with game day drives. I've known Rob for a long time, and I know this is probably a hard decision on a lot of levels for a lot of people, but I truly believe that there's a better final chapter for Rob at Hanover, and he deserves a lot better. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, members of the public, for public comment? Anybody online? In Zoom? If you would like to make a public comment, you can raise your hand and we will call on you. I don't see any hands raised. So moving on to the report section. We have reports of Hanover High School Council rep. So Ella, would you like to present on what council's up to?
So, council's most recent motion was brought by our, by one of our, subcommittees, and it's a revised motion that was brought up last year, and what it aims to do is increase staff representation on council. So currently we have trouble convincing enough staff to run to fill the seats on council. So what we end up with is a lot of representation from the social studies department and several other specific departments, whereas we have almost no representation from math teachers, science teachers, etc. So the goal of this motion was to divide elections within departments instead of overall in the staff body, to encourage representation from more departments. And in the end, the body agreed that the intent of the motion was great and that we would like to see more diversity of perspective on council, but we felt that this specific motion would just decrease staff representation. Sure that it would specifically encourage more staff to run. So we're looking for other solutions to the issue, but this motion did end up failing. So that's what I have today.
Thank you. Any questions for Ella? I don't see any hands raised. Thank you, Ella. Okay, let's see. Julie, would you like to do the high school principals report, please?
Do you have any questions, sorry?
It's a great way to start. Any questions? Yes, Neil.
The power school.
Yes.
I saw in there a note that it sort of referenced not having social security numbers in the system,
Yeah.
but more broadly speaking, like, when we had student data, are we aware of what, if any, student or staff data was?
Compromise. Jay, do you have a better answer for that than I might?
What Power Schools assured us of so far, they've given us this blanket assurance that the data was essentially recovered. I assume through a ransomware attack, though they haven't come right out and said that. But apparently someone held them up for ransomware attack. They paid the ransom, and in order for a company like the one that did this particular attack to stay in business, the prevailing thinking is that you pay the ransom, they give you back your data, and all is well. We haven't heard any follow-up. They're supposed to be giving us, like, if anything else happens, they're supposed to be alerting us, but so far we've got nothing.
Okay, because that wasn't quite the way that, either I misinterpreted what Power School said, or,
Like I said, I'm giving you the interpretation that Brian gave me, reading between the lines on what Power School said. It's like,
okay.
Yeah.
It seemed to me from the FAQs that they were planning on contacting students or families for the data that was known to have been released, or am I not reading that correctly?
we'll have to follow up with you, and
Okay.
yeah, it's,
I don't know of anyone who's been contacted. That's what you're
Okay.
asking, if in terms of families from the high school.
right, we put a notice out to our
So
families.
we don't even, like, they're not even sharing with us what data left, even if they got it back. They're not even saying what data was, like, it sounded like data was released, not data was held hostage.
Well, they have to back to, oh,
Would
sorry.
any of this be required to be on a non-public discussion? I just as a question, before you answer.
What I'm going to answer, I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, so essentially someone through a subsidiary company of Power Schools was able to backdoor through someone's ID that they got in the system, was able to go in and then access the data, take it out, and close the door behind them.
Yeah.
So, beyond that, we've been deferring the communication around the particulars to Power School. They've offered to contact us if there are any new developments, and to my knowledge, I don't have anything new to report since I contacted families and since the original message went out from Brian.
All right.
I mean, you can put, I mean, this is not just Hanover, just so people are listening are clear.
Oh, no,
This was like
I understand
It was
that.
It was
international.
2 hours ago, I just Googled it quickly and they're like going through the federal stuff, and I mean, yeah, I would be surprised if we get anything. Our data's all over.
Yeah, I sent parents like the link to the Power School FAQ site, and they're probably just getting the same non-answers that we're all getting.
Any other, yeah.
So I had asked Julie this, but I'm curious, I was curious about the bus company no longer going to Boston. So is that that's our contracted normal bus
Right.
service?
Our normal bus company used to go to Boston.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's been a couple years
Mhm.
since they've taken students to Boston. And then to get the coach to Boston, it's been cost prohibitive. However, Dartmouth coach has said to us they'll run private trips for us,
Mhm.
like on our own schedule, not on their Logan schedule.
Okay.
That is it's like a third the cost of a regular coach. So that we've had a few trips go out to Boston
With that.
using Dartmouth coach.
That's great. So does our bus company, is it a distance thing? Like, will they refuse to go to Burlington as well, or is it specifically
I
Boston?
think it was, and you might have more answers, I think some of it was the complication also of just the driving there and everything, they just.
Yeah, it's a complication. First of all, it's not written into our contract, right?
Mhm.
That they'll provide service to, to the airports, right?
Right.
But when they used to do it, it's a complication with driving in the city
Mhm.
and also with insurance coverages and the fact that our drivers are not, they're not,
city comfortable.
Well, but they hold Vermont CDLs or New Hampshire CDL licenses, right?
Mhm.
And it's not for interstate travel.
Mm.
It's for local school bus travel. So I believe it's twofold. It has to do with the type of licensure that the bus drivers carry.
Mhm.
Because when you have a CDL for commercial purposes, it's a different license.
Right.
Okay. And so I think because of the licensing, it also brings into play a potential issue with insurance coverage. However, I have driven down to Boston with our small bus and back, so, you know,
Right, the
so,
minibus can go there with us,
Yes.
yeah.
yeah, so the minibus can go with somebody who's
Just a
willing to
trip,
go.
Jamie.
Huh?
Just-
So we have been working ways around some of that
Okay.
for some of the trips that are going out. I just wish they'd stop returning on March 16th in Boston, okay? Because it's so much fun to drive down there in the middle of a St. Patrick's Day parade, I have to tell you. Okay, with a minibus to the airport.
All right, that's my, anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for the high school principal's report for Julie? Yes, Deb.
This is actually not a question, but I just thought the board might like knowing that, in the section where you describe courses that are being added for next year, one of them, ecological literature, is a course proposed by the faculty member who's currently on sabbatical. So I think that's
Yeah.
good to know what
Okay.
our dollars are invested in. Some, I mean, they all are, but
Yeah.
the sabbatical dollars.
Great. Thank you, Julie. Go, Tony.
Well, this is just a question, so I didn't see ecological literature in the report, so.
Bottom of page,
very
very
last-
bottom.
It's in the bottom where it says, work on the high school master schedule, starting
Oh,
over
on
winter
the bottom of
vacation.
the IT part. It's kind
Page
of-
one.
Because
Kind of
I-
hidden in IT.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
it just says,
so in any event, my question
Yeah.
is, I thought we had a new policy about curriculum and new
Yeah.
classes were coming to the board, and so I'm wondering, is like this a little preview of what will be presented to
So
the
the
board?
reading of so the policy itself, a lot of these were approved
Mhm.
earlier
Okay.
before the policy was in place.
Mhm.
And then my other understanding of it is that Robin sits on CPP with us, as does Deb. And Robin has said if she feels like something's a change, that like, for instance, we decide we're getting rid of all honors classes. Or we, are deciding we're not gonna do English anymore. We've decided they can get all their writing and reading and social studies or something like, just changes that are different than just adding another course in the course catalog, like dance, but we also have orchestra and whatever. That Robin would alert me to say this is something that's substantial that needs to go to the board. Like our read of it wasn't every little change in the course or courses, but more things that would consider a shift. So I think if there's anything, I was gonna ask Robin, but a lot of these were done before that policy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, moving forward, a new course would be something that we just put up before the board.
so we'll bring all of those in.
Thanks for the clarification. Um, Seeing no other comments. Tim. Middle school principals
I would
report.
say the same thing. Any questions about the report?
I have one, but
Mhm.
so can you talk about the plan for communicating the results of the family survey about the math and curriculum? Could we, I guess, I'm sure the board would be interested in the results, but also like, what's the plan? Because it says that they're currently in the process of compiling and analyzing the data provided.
Right, so as of right now, we put out a student survey that has 202 respondents out of 260, I think, which was a pretty good response. Right now, the family rate is 116 out of that same number, so we're waiting for a few more responses. We're also in the process of having seventh grade meetings. Our guidance counselors are meeting with all of the seventh grade parents, and we're asking them to fill this out, and then we're gonna take that information. I have a meeting with Robin next week, because there are a number of issues that have come up, both internal and curricular, that we're gonna try to figure out how we address. We have, after the first quarter, we had the teachers surveyed all of the students and tried to figure out what was the best, like, what did you expect? What are we doing well? What are we not doing well? We actually made some changes into the way we were delivering the curriculum. And that's sort of the same model that we're going to use going forward is, hey, this is what we've asked. This is what we've received. These are the changes we're trying to make going forward. So we'll definitely, I think we should have some more information by the next meeting to say, here's what we have. Here are the changes that we're going to try to make to address those concerns that come up, or alternatively, if everything is going really well. We have some survey data that coming back on some of the classes that are really, really good. So we're going to sort of go forward with that. So, but with the understanding that we know that we're never going to get to the point where, especially with math, everything is going to be perfect for all 280 students. But we're going to try to, understanding that this is a process, we're trying to make the process better all the way going through. So that's what we're going to do. And we had hoped that we might be able to get a lot of the data back before this meeting, but the timing of the quarter and then some timing of trying to meet with all of the people who have all of the stakeholders in what we're doing. It's taken a little bit longer, so we pushed it back to the next meeting.
Okay, so our the next Dresden meeting, I believe, will be February 25th. So you're saying that meeting when you say next meeting?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
hoping that by a month, we should be able to. I'll give
Okay,
one more
so-
opportunity for the people, like I said, we're not even at 50% of these responding. So I'd like to see if we had more than that. Because right now it's, as I'm sure people, and Ben's not here, but people who respond to surveys, we're gonna have sort of the reverse bell-shaped curve, like the people who are really happy or the people who aren't are the ones who are responding, and we'd like to get more information for more people. If we can't, then we'll just go with what we have.
Any other questions on the principal's report for Tim?
Yeah, I just had a question. Do you anticipate changes, like significant changes to the way math is done for next year? Or your initial read of the survey results leads you to believe that things will change substantially, or do you think it will be more in the line of tweaks or the status quo?
I really can't say as of right now. It kind of depends on which response I read at which point. So sometimes I'm like, oh, you gotta change everything. And sometimes I'm like, oh, everything is fine. So I think we need to take a little distance and try to figure out exactly sort of take a broader view, which is sometimes hard when you're immersed in the data that people are giving you. So that's why I don't foresee huge changes to what we're doing, but I'm not sure. We're eminently adaptable at RMS, so if we need to make big changes, we will. If we need to stay the course, we'll do that as well.
And just-
If I might, just one follow-up question.
Hold on, Michael. I just want to acknowledge that for the minute taker, this is Michael Costa, because right now you're kind of the voice in the heavens.
Yeah, Michael Costa, longtime listener, first-time caller. I guess the other question I have, and Tim, if it's premature, just let me know. As we're talking to people about a self-paced course, there are likely to be students stuck sort of between courses when they hit the summertime. When families or students are talking to people about next year's courses, is that like one of the things they got to talk about? Like what happens to kids who are or kind of betwixt and in between?
Well, I would answer, Tim from the car on the, since you said first time caller. It depends on what grade we're looking at. So if we have students who are moving from 7th to 8th grade, there's a sort of a built-in idea of taking people from where they are and moving them forward to where they need to be. So there really doesn't need to, like, students moving from 7th to 8th grade are moving in that direction. So there doesn't need to be a whole lot of discussion. In terms of students who are in 8th grade who are moving to 9th grade, that's a discussion that our teachers are having with Warren Benedict at the high school to try to figure out like what would be the best way that we can recommend those students to the high school. And they've actually moved in the direction of, in years past, we've tried to or had to come up with a recommendation very quickly. And Corin and the math teachers have agreed that they're comfortable sort of waiting to figure out where the students are at the end of the year and then make a recommendation from there. So we're trying to use as much data as we have going forward to make sure that students are in the right place. So certainly if students at the end of 7th grade are somewhere in between, there doesn't need to be any sort of big trying to figure out exactly what's going to happen. That will work itself out at the beginning of 8th grade.
Awesome. Thanks for the insight. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Michael. Okay, Ella.
I'm curious if there's been any data gathered from teachers as to how they feel the self-guided program compares to the previous format.
Yeah, there has been a fair amount of data gathered both from our 8th grade teachers and actually from teachers in the high school as well, in terms of how students are coming in, their preparation, where they are, and we'll be able to share that as well.
Is that public data right now? Or?
No, it's not public data right now, so we have to sort of vet it and make sure that no one can figure out who's saying what, so, and then we can go forward from there.
So unless I hear disagreement, I'm inclined to add this to an agenda item for the February meeting. And if council or students have any questions, about middle school math, happy to get any insight and questions for that meeting. So, thank you. Seeing no other questions or comments and nothing from the public. Moving on then to the draft 25-26 school calendar. And for those eagle eyes, if you looked at our SAU 70 meeting, you might have seen some different weeks of being off in the calendar. I'm gonna look to Jay to be the official source on which school calendar, just to confirm our vacation weeks, because I know that they've been in flux with Hartford's schedule. So is the calendar that we're looking here the one we're looking to propose?
This is the one that we're proposing.
Okay, perfect.
The Dresden calendar.
Perfect, okay, great, because that matches the Hanover one, which was discussed and approved already. So perfect. Would you like to say anything to the calendar?
I'll just again say that we worked really hard to align our calendar with the Hartford calendar, because so many of our students do attend the Hartford Area Career and Tech Center. One of the things that I've heard both good and bad about is the 2 weeks in the winter break encompassing the holiday break and New Year's. It's again going to be 2 weeks coming up, so I would have to say on balance, I heard more positive than negative. People actually being able to disconnect and rejuvenate. So that's where we are. There's a concerted lobby working us to extend Thanksgiving break to a full week, which I think you may see something maybe in the subsequent year's calendar, suggesting that we maybe give people more of a break then for travel. But other than that, we're very closely aligned with HACTC.
I saw Kelly's hand first.
Not to put any carts before any horses, but I know we're gonna talk about calendar committee. I noticed that their calendar that they mocked up for us was 25-26. Are we anticipating potentially adding those as a list for next calendar? You're not changing the calendar itself, but adding the holidays that they mentioned potentially. Okay. Okay, thank
Stay
you.
tuned.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tony.
So I noticed that, missed this when we discussed this with Hanover. In February, there is, I guess, President's Day on the 16th, and I think that's usually the week of February break. But next year, it's not the week of February break, but that Monday is also a holiday.
Yes,
Is that just to align with Hartford?
that's
And
to
is
align
there
with
a reason
Hartford, and it's an attempt on the part of the state of Vermont to have all districts in Vermont on the same calendar as well. I heard somewhere in the conversation that would align with more of the districts in New Hampshire as well. But it's a departure for us. We normally have our February break in line with President's Day. So this would be a little bit of a change from what we're used to.
Neil.
So a note to note, it's in the thing that I brought up last time, right? So with that break in February being the last week before voting, it pushes the deliberative session then to February 28th. If people are on vacation and this board is unable to get a quorum to meet, what does that mean for the deliberative session?
So we had asked the question at the Hanover meeting, and it was gonna go to legal to determine, well, the question specifically was, do we need to have a quorum for the deliberative meeting? In addition to other questions related to it, like can we move it, that kind of flexibility. So I guess I'm now looking back at James,
Yeah,
that was the
and I
question.
still don't have that legal opinion yet.
That's fine. That was gonna be my suggestion, was that we follow up with legal counsel to find out what it means if we can't get a quorum. And it's gotta be a quorum in person, remember, because it's Dresden.
So I hear Dresden seconds Hanover's
Yes.
question. Thanks, Neil. Lisa?
Yeah, this is sort of a high school question. With the 2-week vacation in December, you all still come back to finals, correct? Like the quarter doesn't end until around January 8th or so. Was that more stressful or less stressful than having a shorter, you know what I mean? Like having that long extended vacation and then coming back and having to really dig in for finals. Was that difficult or?
I mean, it's not ideal to rest and then have to come back and start working really hard for finals, but I think most people I know would say it's preferable to a 1-week break.
Okay.
So I don't know if I can speak for everyone, but that was my experience at least. Yeah, because some students just use the end of the break to start preparing as well, so that can be helpful.
I'm assuming that this is, maybe I shouldn't, that this is gonna be the calendar that neighboring New Hampshire schools who also use Hartford will be adopting, like Lebanon and Mascoma. But and that's fine. I'm actually pretty concerned about trying to have a deliberative session at the end of a vacation week in terms of the audience, which we know has numbered in the hundreds recently. But
That is a joke.
that's a joke. I was being funny, haha. But my other question just is about the impact on athletic competition. And I don't really have something specific in mind, although I know when my kids were ski racing, state competition, the big meets were right as we rolled into the vacation week. And I don't know if there are any implications for athletics that we haven't really talked about.
I mean, so this aligns us more with New Hampshire schools, right? And so that issue with athletics, or Megan's watching or not, but the issue with athletics of we're on vacation when they're not, other New Hampshire schools, and so then it's trying to, I mean, our kids are always playing during vacation
Right.
because of that also. So I don't know if it would mean there'd be fewer games during vacation because other schools would be on vacation or, but you know, or those games could be during the day, because often we're on vacation, but we're playing games at night because the other schools are in session. So it aligns us with them. There's spring issues with it being later, which I think New Hampshire schools experience, but it is what it is. I guess people just have to get used to a new normal with that. But it does align us with New Hampshire schools, which I think is probably helpful from an athletic standpoint.
So it sounds like it's aligning from both Vermont across the state now and New Hampshire existing. Sounds like a busy airport.
Yes, buy your tickets early.
Actually, yeah, that's wrong, because it's, don't forget, Massachusetts is the President's Day week.
Right.
So that if you look at like Exeter, for example, high school, like New Hampshire, right, their winter break this year is on the 24th, and President's Day is the 17th. And I can guarantee you for anyone that's planned to try to travel this year for February break, like tickets are 3 times as high our week than they are for the New Hampshire week, because I thought we were vacation with New Hampshire relatives and we weren't, so. It's
I guess it
more-
depends
it's
on
more
which airport you fly at.
I'm assuming most people fly to Boston, since there's not much flights out of Manchester these days, but.
Okay, try Burlington.
So Michael, I see your hand raised.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair. I don't want to be, I'm not in charge of the calendar. Don't want to be in charge of the calendar. The 2-week break, I was just want to express some surprise that Jay got such positive feedback. It's really long. Our kids are getting older, but I do worry about people that require childcare having to kite up a 2-week break. So I just wanted to ask Jay again, like the feedback about a 2-week break you received was fairly positive.
Overwhelmingly positive.
Wow. All right. I will not spend more time being curmudgeonly. But register me as the lone dissent on the 2-week break.
Kelly.
I guess just looking at it though, I mean, but the option would be to come on that Monday, maybe. I don't know that that's super helpful. I mean, I guess, or come back in between. I don't know.
If
don't
I
see
were-
it.
If I were king of the world, I'd go Monday, Tuesday, and half a Wednesday. But I'm a grump. I like to have the kids in school. But again, I'm not in charge of the calendar and don't want to prolong this matter on the agenda.
Thank you, Michael. Tony?
I'll just note for the record, Michael, that I expressed my dismay at the Hanover meeting. I carried it over to the Dresden meeting.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
For the same reasons you articulated.
All right. Seeing no other discussion from either the public or board members, I'm looking to move on then to our annual meeting preparations. This will be held on Thursday, February 27th this year. So it's a Thursday evening. Really, the main point of this discussion is just to assign some volunteers, hopefully. You won't have to be voluntold, hopefully, to address the certain warrant articles. And I will add that a couple of the articles have kind of already been spoken for, which I don't think anybody will disagree with, hopefully. So Article 3, Ben has volunteered to do the support staff contract. It's the same contract that's presented at the Hanover one, and he's already doing the Hanover warrant article discussion. So if no one wants to fight him for it, I think he can have it. And then also I volunteered already to do the Article 5, the budget one. So again, happy to give that up. Lisa?
I will not be here that day because I teach in Vermont and that is our vacation week. So I will be gone.
All right. So, so that being noted, we have a few. So, the first article is really the elections. This isn't really one that requires the board to present. The moderator typically reads it. If for whatever reason someone needs to present on it, I'm happy to take it for the team, but you know, I think the moderator typically does that. So for Article 2, it's about board stipends. And so we'll need one for that. Article 4 for the service staff contract. For Article 6, we have middle school sports warrant article, and Article 7 is the new trust fund. So looking for a volunteer for Article 2, the board stipend. Oh, go ahead. Or
I was
any
gonna
volunteers.
I was gonna offer to do 7, but. That's fine.
Thank you, Deb.
And I can do the first or the second one too, it's fine.
Well, let's share the love. The board stipend, Article 2, there is no change from, thank you, Neil.
March 7th, yes, just, no, March
And then-
4th.
And then we have service staff contract, which we can also assign to those who aren't here today as well, but I just would like someone, maybe someone who is on the committee to volunteer for that.
I would recommend that.
The only board member, I think, in that particular negotiation was Ben.
Oh, okay. You know, Ben.
Yeah, I'm not in town.
Okay.
To be fair, I think Ben said he would do, both contracts, but I figured I would share it, so I don't think it would be a surprise to Ben to do both. Because he's doing it.
Was that 4?
Yeah, that's 4, but if for whatever reason, he doesn't, I will contact somebody to do 4, if that's fair. And that is it.
I'll do sports.
Oh, sorry, sorry, Callie, I may have already written your name.
That's fine.
You're already going sumptuous.
As the chair of the middle school sports committee, thank you very much.
Or we can make Ben do it.
Ben's good. Thank you, Kelly. Okay, thank you all. Appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you all there. Oh, I will just note, because I did it in Hanover as well, since I will be presenting the budget, given the massive audience of, I believe, 0 last time, aside from the finance committee, who I believe, feel obligated to attend. There won't be slides, as in traditional ways in prior years. The slides that I would typically present have already been presented twice in a public hearing and in budgets, and so this will be a pretty quick summary. Just wanted to let them know, if you disagree with that, feel free to email me. I said that in Hanover, and I didn't get to receive an email. So I think that that's a plan going forward. So, I see Jamie coming up, and I think we are moving on to the, basically a new purchasing card program.
Hopefully.
Would you like to present specifically what the board's role is in this
Sure.
discussion?
So, in order for us to be able to participate, first of all, this is, it's called the P card program, stand for procurement. That's smart, right? It was initiated and put together, by Illinois ASBO, which is the Association of School Business Officials. Illinois, has a very large member population of an ASBO. It's a big state. And so they started doing this and putting it together. It's been many, many, many years it's been around. I have looked into it before in the past, but they've made some upgrades to it, and they've made some changes where now I think it's great, and I'd like for us to hop in. Currently, and when I got here, we've been using an American Express card. It presents a lot of problems because it's not widely accepted all over, the world, even though you think it is. There's a lot of places that don't like to take it because the charges are so high. So we have been mitigating the problem by having MasterCards issued by our Mascoma Bank, and we may still continue with that program for student and staff travel, just because that also has an element of, you can use an ACH instead of carrying cash with you for the kids, although these can have that same opportunity. The board's role specifically, move it along if nobody has questions, is that we have to have a resolution from the board saying that you are okay with us participating in the program before we can even put our application in. And we would have to have that resolution done at every single board, of all the 4 in the district who want to participate. I mean, I guess one could opt out and say, we don't want to participate, but I really think that it's a great program. My initial reservation before was that it used to be a direct debit program. And I didn't want anybody having the ability to reach in and just pull money out of our account. Our Mascoma Bank ones are a direct debit program. What we do with that is we maintain an account, we isolate cash over to that account so it can't get to our bigger accounts. Because we know how much they're gonna spend on the trip. But with this, it's no longer run that way. You have the option of doing it via statement. So that was the biggest change that they've made that I said, okay, you know, this might be worth looking into again. There's also been a change, with our financial software, where the P card information coming out when the bills come out can be uploaded into the software program for processing. So it could help to save on processing time. Depending on the volume of what we use it for. I know some school districts that put every single thing they pay for through it because of the cash rebate coming back, comes back in the form of a check. So we would need your permission. We have spoken to the district treasurer for Dresden, yes, Dresden and Norwich. I've not spoken to the district treasurer for Hanover just because I haven't gotten in touch with them. And so we need your permission to do it.
Tara.
I think I saw in the paperwork that there's a cash advance option on the card, and I was wondering if that was a feature that the district was going to activate or not. It seemed optional.
We probably won't, but I think we'd work through the parameters of that with our treasurers. It's gonna depend on how comfortable they are with some of those parameters. We do with our direct debit cards for the staff travel with the students, like when they take, 10 kids to France or whatever, and they give them so much money per day, spending or whatever it is for lunch. We have an ACH, they have a debit ACH on those cards where they can go to a bank and take the cash out and then give it to the children instead of having to carry money like that. So we would do that, but not necessarily a cash advance, no.
Is that something that you use currently on the American Express?
No, we do not.
Okay, so if this was going to replace that, then it probably sounds
We
like
probably
it's
would
not.
not.
something-
And I don't think based on the treasurers that I know, I doubt they would be okay with that either.
Kelly.
So is this an annual resolution? That we would
Oh,
need to,
good question. I did not ask that. I don't believe so.
okay, and so then but the backing out of this, if we decided for whatever reason.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
not
you can
working,
just close it.
Close it, okay. And then my second question is who, and I'm sorry if this was in the slide, I looked for it, but I didn't see it. Who determines who gets a P card? Would we control still,
So
or would the company control who has access?
We
to the P
would.
card? We would, okay.
finance and the superintendent's
Okay.
office. Yeah, and we will, if you allow us to participate in this, we will bring forward to you at the next meeting a P card policy.
Okay.
Okay, because you need to have a P card policy in place. And there's a bunch of different samples.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of school districts in New Hampshire that participate. So we'll bring that, right now, I mean, we have a policy for American Express cards issued, right? That people have to read and sign and everything.
Yeah.
But the P card policy that's required by them is a bit more aggressive. It's a bit more expansive. So we'll bring that if I didn't want to work through doing all that, if you said no.
Thank you.
Are there, the cost of this program compared to what we're currently doing?
Yeah, it's cheaper. But right now, you have to pay for American Express corporates. So this is much cheaper and it's much easier to manage.
And sorry, trying to understand what Illinois'
Role is,
role is versus the bank, like what,
so Illinois ASBO's role is the management of the process, but the management of the program. So, Holly, I'm gonna say Holly Choke, because that's all I can think of, Holly Wallace, right? Holly Wallace is the Illinois ASBO director for P card program. And so if there are any questions, concerns, problems, you can go directly to them because they manage the programming. Whereas the bank manages the back end of it, I guess you would say. They manage the front end on the folks who are signing up for it and, you know, the applications and, you know, figuring out with the bank the different dollar amounts and, you know, so they're a part of the programming management.
Yeah, yeah.
And the Illinois Association of School Business Owners, is that a
Business officials.
business officials, is that a completely independent organization? Does it have an affiliation with or receive any funds or money from the state of Illinois' government?
Good question. I don't believe so, but I'll follow up and get
The
it.
reason that I ask is I'm wondering, I don't want to put us in a situation where somebody that's administering some program that we are participating in sees their funding yanked or their status changed because that state's government decides that, you know,
Gotcha.
whatever, it's just not, you know.
And I'm okay to bring this back to you in February. It's fine. I just wanted to get it before the Dresden board because you're all here, right? You're all at one spot. So when I bring it out to the rest of them. So if that's a crucial answer, I would hesitate, I guess, and say they're completely independent and don't get money from the state just because none of the ASBOs that we're a member of do. And so they all basically manage themselves under the same charter. But I would rather get an answer truly from Holly for the question. So I'm happy to bring it back to you.
And I just, I'm not, I mean, if I look at the map, every state in the Northeast region except for Rhode Island participates, so.
Which Rhode Island may have, you know, I don't know about Rhode Island's charter. I know Mass, Vermont, New Hampshire and Maine are all independent, you know, the ASBOs are all totally independent. Tri-State's totally independent. They have, you know, EIN numbers, they have, you know, they are set up as nonprofit organizations that are for a specific purpose, which is, some of them certify business administrators or business managers, whatever they're called, CFOs, you know, they have all different titles. Some of the ASBOs don't certify. New Hampshire does certify now because New Hampshire walked away. Vermont does certify us because Vermont, the state's never done it. So some of the charters may have different pieces that they participate in with their members. But I can get an answer for that. No worries. I'll bring it back. I can bring it back.
Great. And just from, I guess more of a consumer finance lens,
Sure.
right? So I mean, we're basically going from American Express to a MasterCard
Yes.
card.
Yes.
And I mean, MasterCard, from my experience, is available a little bit easier than American Express. And so just from a processing perspective, you know, just.
Yeah.
As
It's
a
more
note.
user friendly, definitely,
Right.
and Julie can tell you, because.
Yeah.
You know, the high school does the most travel out of all of our folks, and it's probably what, twice a month that they're coming over to see us, because we keep a very tight rein on the MasterCards for Mascoma Bank, because they're direct debit cards. So I have one issued. And so when they need something to be put on a MasterCard, they have to come over and get me, and we have to, you know, so it's a little, you know, processes. Just to make it easier.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on then to business requiring action. Do I hear a motion to approve items B through F by consent?
So
You'll delete C.
Oh,
did you want to do this one, this P card approval tonight, or?
I guess the question,
It won't put us at risk. It will, so our American Express cards, the renewal is April. Okay, so it takes about 30 days to get an approval from Illinois ASBO and or Bank of Montreal, because it's an application process, right? So our next meeting is end of February. It might be good to get Dresden's and SAU tonight, but with a caveat that it's only if certain conditions, you know, don't do this. Would you do it that way?
I can also get a motion for B through E and then we can discuss an F.
Okay.
Do I hear a motion for B through E by consent? Yes.
Move to approve items B through E as presented by consent.
Second by Lisa. Okay, and we have a couple online, so any discussion? Seeing none. Neil, how do you vote?
Yes.
McConnell, yes, sorry.
Very yes.
Buffy, yes. Nelson, yes.
Christie, yes.
And Lily?
Tryman, yes.
And Michael?
Costa, yes.
And Hartman, yes. Thank you. That is unanimous. Yes, thank you. Okay, do I hear any motion for item F? Tony?
Tony does.
I move to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of individual procurement cards and authorize the district treasurer to enter an agreement with the Bank of Montreal via the Illinois ASBO-P card program.
Do I hear a second? Second by Tara. Any discussion? Tara?
Sort of tooling around online, it appears that they are a nonprofit based upon the kind of taxes that they file. So I don't think that they're a governmental entity. It says they're a child organization of the International ASBO Foundation.
Yeah, I'm, not a big deal. I'll support this, and I think while it's a non-binding request, I would just say if we learn that relationship is different, I would appreciate it coming back before the board, but I can't mandate that, so just a statement. So,
Okay, any other discussion? Okay. Seeing none. Neil, how do you vote?
yes.
McConnell, yes.
Very yes.
Buffy, yes.
Nelson, yes.
Christie, yes.
Lily?
Tryman, yes.
Costa, yes.
And Hartman, yes. All right, thank you very much. So the next item is the report and communications report of the chair. I have nothing to report at this time. Well, we could talk in superintendent. So for committee reports, anything from committees, either council, I see there's bolded or council because they've met, and then the middle school sports committee has met, but I believe we talked about it at the, or what would, anything from those committees? Yeah.
Well, the CSDC committee met today to review and approve enrichment grants. And I kind of think technically Jay is supposed to tell the board each year who's received an enrichment grant. I think I saw that somewhere, so not tonight, but at some point, I think you can share, or Tara and I could share what some of the enrichment grants are, because I think the board might like knowing where the dollars are going.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
and most teachers who receive your enrichment grants actually make presentations. It might be a nice thing to start here as well.
It's time consuming, but nice.
Yeah. Limit them to.
Yeah.
It's
I
minutes.
completely agree.
Lots of headlines. Kelly?
So Dresden Sports or Athletics Committee, we are middle school athletics committee. We are having our potentially final meeting on Monday, during the lunch hour, so at noon, in the SAU office. If any of you have specific things that you would like for us to discuss, please share those, questions with us. I know that, administration is planning, like, to give us a job description for, the new Director of Athletics and Co-Curricular Activities Coordinator, which I wanted to clarify is one position. There was a typo in the, or a misstatement in the, Valley News that suggested it was two positions, which is understandable since it is a very long title at this point, and does, even when I say it, sound like two positions. So, had a lovely conversation with the reporter today, understand where the confusion happened, and they're gonna, somehow share that change with the public. But also just wanted to put a plug out there to please get the word out that, the board has supported this, warrant article and this initiative. And that, administration's involved, HPRs have been involved, Norwich Parks and Rec has been involved, and everyone is in favor of this. I think there's been a little confusion in the community, about perhaps why it's a warrant article and not in the budget. And so anything that we can do to help, educate people on that front and, just reiterate that, this has been a real community effort and that everyone is on board and in favor of this proposal. That would be great. Yeah, that's all I have.
Can I ask a question on that? And then back to, does the chair know, did the Hanover Finance Committee take a position on budget and this article and what it was?
I'm looking to Tony, who's our Hanover Finance Liaison. I know that they had a meeting or a delayed meeting or.
The finance committee took no position on the warrant article on middle school sports
And the
and
budget?
unanimously approved the budget articles, including the contracts.
So the only thing they didn't was the middle school sports program.
Sorry, that came in the form of like no motion was made to,
On middle school sports in
Yeah.
particular, it was a decision to refrain from taking a position with you expressed that this was a referendum essentially a referendum for the town to express whether they wanted this, and that the finance committee wasn't going to take a position on that.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I'm sure you guys discussed this, but the position title has director and coordinator
Right.
in it.
Well, so we haven't finalized that. It is in the warrant article as such. I would say that's a tentative job
Okay.
title that
There's supposed to be a
Slash.
between them.
Like
Yeah.
one is at the end and one is at the beginning, and I don't know,
Yeah.
it just, I don't see how you can do both, but that's
so the,
my personal
I will
opinion.
say, and I will say, if I may respond.
Okay,
Thank you. I will say that we base that off of other neighboring districts who currently have that as their model actually for the high school as well. And so if we're being fully transparent, my sense is that that person's role tends to center more around athletics than anything else. But I think there is a hope that there will at least be some coordination with, making sure that the school musical night is not the same as the, state championship for basketball or whatever, might be going on, that there will be that level of coordination. So I think at least at that level, there's a hope that that person will have some oversight on that.
Yeah, I don't want to prolong this, but I thought that was the kind of the whole point of this position was to offer that coordination.
Agreed.
Okay, so
Yeah.
just to be clear.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Thank you for the committee reports. I don't see anything from the public. So superintendent's report.
I have a rather extensive report in our next meeting. I'm just going to use this time to alert the board to the fact that we are in a sort of complicated but good situation in which our high school basketball team will have home court advantage in the playoffs on the same day as our election.
Oh.
So we are making arrangements to alternatively have the election at RMS, and that's sort of nascent work right now. But we'll keep you up to date and make sure that we're very clear with the public and make every effort to make sure that everyone knows where the vote's gonna be.
I know this has come up before, and I'm just trying to remember, is this just a Hanover problem or is this a statewide thing? Like, is the scheduling conflict, is it on the same day for everybody?
Hustle a little bit more right now in order to make it to the playoffs, but, sorry, I'm
So noted.
2-1, Tony, wherever you are. It ends up being a problem if you're first or second, you get a bye, and then it doesn't end up affecting us. If you're third through eighth, then it happens at home. And we're sort of in the 3 through 8 zone. So it happens like last year, it didn't happen because the boys were second or first in the state. I can't remember, right? So And this election, I mean, if you're asking my opinion, is a smaller one. Richmond, Black Center, like, I think it might be better to just plan on that because it just depends. And then you feel like you have these teams who've worked really hard during the season to gain and you kind of feel dumb talking about it because it's a sport and it's supposed to be fun and really who cares, but they care and they work really hard and they should be able to have their home court advantage and not play at Leb. And it happened to the girls when they were a stronger team. It won't happen probably for the girls this year, even though they're doing really amazingly well, trying to get better as the season goes on, but it probably will happen for the boys this year.
I guess my question was more like, is this a Hanover Town, like scheduling, or I just can't remember, does Leb have their school elections on the same day, or is that like?
They're not,
They're later.
yeah, they're
Go ahead.
not at the high school.
They're not at the high school.
Yeah,
Okay.
Leb votes in 3 places.
They have
in
a
Warren,
Hanover
and they're
situation.
not
Okay.
at the high school.
Okay. Thank you.
And they vote a week.
Yeah, and then they also vote later. Just like, I mean, Hanover Town votes on their budget and like.
Right. Sorry.
This is the broader problem, I'm sorry.
Hear
This is the discussion, which we thought about last year, just from a security standpoint, I know it's just a
Yeah.
tool one this year, but like, you know, it does keep raising, like, why do we have the elections at the high school? Like, this is a Hanover, like, we don't, like, most towns have elections at the town hall, like,
Yeah.
at a bigger
Right.
place, and for some reason, it's causes traffic issues, I mean, you've been dealing with security issues, like, we've kind of kicked this under the rug a little bit,
Yeah.
but like, Julie raises this issue, like,
Every year.
Every year.
They-
Every
we
year.
do we did something.
this is,
this
sorry, this
year.
is basketball, but
Yeah.
it's a bigger problem than basketball.
But we did something this year that's better, that makes it feel a little bit better, which is we figured out a way to make the gym a contained space where you can't crash through the doors. And so you're stuck, and if those aren't exits, and the town allowed us to not have those as exits, so that feels a bit better to me, but still, PE classes canceled
Displaced,
every
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
You know, all the sports the night before are
Right.
canceled and the day of are canceled. So I mean, it impacts things that are happening within the school. You know, and there's the parking lot, everyone, like for the last election was here in the parking lot, and we can't stop our kids from walking out back and, which is kind of nice and used to be really, really nice for kids to see that process. It's just becoming less and less nice as politics change over time. And people will get back there.
Thank you, Julie. Tony.
I had a question about whether the freeze on federal funding is impacting us.
That was my hesitation on the chair's report and thinking. Superintendent's report.
Yeah, I'll be addressing that in my more full report. Yeah, I just left Rhett earlier today and was looking at what's happening to IDEA funding and everything else right now. So there's a judge, it's my understanding, is trying to stop that from going forward, but as it stands right now, everything's frozen. So programs that are being funded through grants and no one's, I don't think, suffering from a cash flow problem yet, because it's so new. But hopefully this judge will act but it could be mired in the court for a long time.
Okay. I was wondering like when we might actually feel an effect, when it could become an issue, how long?
I don't know timing wise, when you saw your email last, but, we did receive an email from the state of Vermont today saying that entitlement grants, as of now, they would be following through on the commitments that they've made to us at this point in time. But they also did share with us the letter that came out of Washington. So I think the states are trying to figure out what this means too.
Thank you, Jamie. Any other superintendent's report?
That's it for now.
It'll be bigger the next meeting.
Okay, great. And that also includes the assistant superintendent's report. All right, Jamie, business administrator's report.
Yeah, really quickly, we're working through the brochures right now, they're being, finished for first draft. Should hopefully have them back tomorrow, I'll get them out to you so you can review what's in print, make some corrections, and then they'll go to the printer and probably be out within, 7 to 10 days. Annual reports being worked on right now, so is Norwich as well. Good thing is we've got Norwich's information finally, so that's great, we can move forward. And audits are final and sitting on desks at our auditor's station. We've been emailing them weekly to try to get them in-house. There was a delay, because the GASB 54 report on, OPEB money came in December, so it put them a little bit behind on their section. But they're finalized in draft and they're just waiting for sign off from the folks at the audit firm. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So, I believe we have a non-public. So if I hear, all right, I'm assuming there weren't any questions from Jamie, because I didn't see any hands raised. Didn't mean to be too quick on that. But now it's time to move into non-public session. Do I hear a motion to do that? It's for
Negotiation.
yeah, it's to discuss negotiations. We'll be coming out of that to approve the support and service staff agreements
That's personnel.
and personnel.
Right, so Hanover board members have already had this discussion. So it's really for the benefit of our Norwich members.
That would be.
Sorry, I'm looking at the agenda and it looks like there's private content or whatever, board only content, but I don't see anything. And then it looks like
Everything else is public.
everything else is public. So I'm just wondering what our non-public is for, if it's all public now.
Yeah, I think once we approve it, it becomes public, and maybe that was a bit of a.
Yeah, okay.
Preemptive. Also, as I say that, since the Hanover.
So Hanover approved it and you
It becomes
ratified
public.
the,
I guess I'm
It's
just
a
wondering if we
top-
need the non-public.
yeah, it's a timing issue, Kelly, because
Yeah.
Hanover's already ratified and Dresden board actually ratified the warrant articles. But we never took a formal vote to ratify the agreements. So that's why I put them in public view, because they're already in public view in Hanover.
Do we need non-public is my question.
Discussion.
I mean. Am I looking for a motion? I see none, we will move on.
I-
Lisa?
I guess I'm wondering if there was anything in the Hanover non-public discussion that should be shared with us in a non-public manner for your Vermont board members. That would be my only question. Because if there is, then I say we do non-public, but if not, I don't see a need for it.
In public, they were voted unanimously in support, and they are currently ratified. I think it's.
No, I understand that, but I just wondered if there was anything in the discussion period that feels important.
That is my answer.
Okay, thank you. I mean, it's just hard for me to know.
I can make a motion for non-public if you want.
Yeah, that's.
I don't need to prolong the meeting if we don't have to.
Okay.
That's hence my question.
I don't see any motions strongly in favor of going into non-public, so
Perfect.
I am inclined to move. To the return to public session, which we never left, and now I'm looking for an approval. Yes, Deb.
I move to approve the Dresden support staff and service staff agreements as presented.
I will second it.
Great, second by Lisa. All right, any discussion? Seeing none. Let me double check online. Nothing from the public, nothing from board members. How do you vote, Tara?
Walter, yes.
Christie, yes.
Nelson, yes.
Steve Lassie, yes.
Barry, yes.
McConnell, yes.
Odell, yes.
Lily? Or Michael?
Costa, yes.
Simon, yes. Sorry, internet issues.
Thanks, Lily. All right, and Hartman, yes. So that is a unanimous yes. Thank you very much. Now we're going to return to our second public comment. This is again, if we have any items not in the agenda, we ask it for it now. Seeing none, we're moving to the adjournment section. So our agenda topics for next meeting will essentially be kind of a mid-year update. I think we're gonna be talking about middle school math survey, since we discussed that today. Some parting words from retiring board members, as this will be the last February meeting of the year before the vote. And we'll be approving the school calendar, which was presented, actually. Yeah.
And it sounded like there might be some course addition reports, right, from the high school at the next one, or no?
I will look, we'll talk maybe about timing on that, because I don't know when that would need to occur, but.
I would just express my hope that middle school math doesn't divide us.
Oh, that's a good one. Or multiply.
Or multiply. Thank you, Michael. All right, so do I hear an adjournment for the meeting, a motion to adjourn? Okay, Lisa.
Move to adjourn the meeting at 7:19 PM.
All right, second by Deb. All right, Neil, how do you vote?
Adele, yes?
McConnell, yes.
Very yes.
Plus, yes.
Nelson, yes?
Christie, yes?
Lily?
Carmen, yes.
Michael?
Costa, yes.
Hartman, yes. Thank you very much. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, February 25th. Thank you. We're adjourned.
And let's have